So here I am, virtually on my own here at the Natural History Museum. Today, on Thursday, when we should have met together to do our hands-on workshop. So I've been doing things around the museum, the different exhibitions, to try and give you an idea of what you would have been doing and what you can do with children to make a museum experience a little bit more interactive. So I hope you enjoy it. So basically, things that you can do here with the dinosaurs. Obviously, as you can see, the skeletons can be a really great way of exploring, and one of those ways of doing it is using black paper and a white pen. You can see a white pen. We can have various different kinds of white pens. You can have chalk. Think about the structure of your paper as well. This is kind of shiny, so it doesn't take on the chalks very well. You could also use this with like pastels and things and chalks and crayons, even better, and do like rubbings. Of course, there's the craziest background sounds going on now. Another, of course, easy way is taking the old magnifying glass and using that, and it's a great way of being able to see things up closely. But again, if you're going to be doing these hands-on things, let children explore with magnifying glasses or the smaller ones at preschool before you come, so that when they're coming, it's not like the novelty of the museum and the materials too. Torches can be great ways, and I'm going to be showing in different areas about how torches. I have a traditional torch here to shine on things. Not that it shines very much here, or you can kind of. But I also have a UV one, and that can be kind of fun to see how things shine in different ways. Of course, these are kind of models, so they're not going to shine in the same way. Of course, you can bring light paper and do like the rubbings and things. It doesn't have to be on black paper. When I came in autumn, I brought a whole lot of clay as well, because clay is a really great way to kind of sit down and work and kind of think with your hands at the same time. And what I noticed is when we were working with the clay with the students, there was lots of children coming up and playing with them too. And these children didn't know each other, but they started making connections, explaining, because we're in the crabs that are far over there, and I'll show you later. And they started talking about the crabs that they'd seen on holiday and the different knowledges that they all had. There was 2 children at one time that started, and then more came in. And so they were using their own knowledge of crabs from today with their thinking about the fossils and creating with the crabs and getting to know each other. So it was a really great way for the children to think with their whole body. Anyway, I brought things like shells with me, and the shells were really useful in connecting with the fossils here. So they could print it into the clay, or if you bring Play-Doh instead, you could do that. And then they could actually see the prints and connect it with the actual fossils that they're seeing in the museum. Rather than having to just rely on memories or photos, they can actually see the two things together. I'm also bringing things like dinosaur models, and they can play, they could make their own films here on the actual place, which I'm going to do and share that as well. So you can make a stop motion film, or you could just film the children playing with them in front of one of the backgrounds, because there's lots of different backgrounds here that they can use. And of course, before I mentioned when you came and listened and we're all allowed to be here about this story, of course it probably back to front here. Oh, this is not the one. Here we go. Dinosaurs love underpants. This story was one that I mentioned before. And of course it can be a great way to come here and find out, did the dinosaurs really die out? Did they, and did the cave people, as they're called here, the early people, did they live at the same time as the dinosaurs? So you have various connections. So children can read the story and then they can come here and start thinking critically about it. So Here you have pictures of the actual dinosaurs fighting over the underpants. The dinosaurs say goodnight. Again, another one they could come here and say, do dinosaurs go to bed? Do they have beds? Well, they don't have beds that look like us. Maybe you could do some research about where do dinosaurs sleep, how do they sleep? And that could maybe go into other animals in the museums as well about where they're sleeping. Like if you go up to the Swedish animals area, you will see how they hibernate, and that can maybe give you some indication about sleeping and dens and build, which can then go into construction when you go back to the preschool and think about how are we going to construct a den or a bed for a dinosaur.
So here's a basic setup for the clay. I used mirrors to put the clay on. On the plastic bag there is a wet cloth to clean hands with quickly afterwards. Children could use inspiration from the rib bones or from making the whole dinosaurs or like the crabs next to them, as I mentioned before. This was a feet study that one of the students did last time, and we used the torches to try and see that in a new way as well. So torches can be used for your own creations and not just the exhibition. Some of the children did flat designs. Of course, you've got to think about how you're going to get them back or whether you're not going to take them back, but a plastic box could work. The figures could be used to make fossils as well as the shells, and you could make comparisons of the children's work by the end. So I'm going to share a quick film I made at the museum today using stop motion. Then after that, a movie that you could make back at the preschool using clay or any other materials, and you could use a green screen background, or you could just use a background that the children are creating themselves. The most important is that the children have been inspired by their visit in the museum and can create something. This film was made by a group of school-aged children in Vancouver at Frog Hollow, and I got permission to share it with you. I felt it was a good example to see how things could be made in an alternative way. As you can see, the clay gives them the ability to create something using the knowledge that they learn at the museum. This can either be done at the museum or back at preschool, depending on what time you have and the space that you have.
So this is the area where the humans first started. Did you see that? Of course, we don't have to just come here to learn things and read all the facts. It could be that you come here and this is the setting of a film. Think of the film Night at Museum. Can they create their own kind of museum-like film where the artifacts here come alive? Therefore, maybe they need to come the first time and work out, what do we have here? What animals, what people, what kind of things would they like to come alive, and to create their own little cinematic film of a kind. So here you have the actual crabs that I did the clay next to last time. The height is quite good here to work on. It's lower just there. You're thinking about heights of how the children can work. Standing is a really good way because they can move. The great thing about this is that you have green screen kind of behind it. So what I'm going to do here is take some photos of here, and I will put it onto green screen, and you'll be able to see what then you can do when you get back to the preschool. Maybe you want to create your own background, so you can use your own green screen. So if you're taking photographs of these backgrounds, you could then possibly take it back and use these. Reflection's not optimal, but you could kind of use it. And the idea is the children are making their own choices. Which background would they like to create a film on? I mean, this is just empty. They really could create. Normally it's a giant next one's a giant insect. So they could really create their own like stories with these backgrounds. So now we're in the area of how museums used to look like, with kind of curiosity cupboards. This can be a great way for children to come in and start thinking about the diversity of animals. These are all birds, but they all look the same. Can they find similarities? What kind of differences? Why are all the beaks so different? So they can start thinking about this. Camouflage maybe, colour maybe. Here's where a torch can come in handy when there's lots of things to look at. The children can then shine their torch on which one they're talking about. Because sometimes the one to the left, the one in the middle, one up the top can be quite hard. But by having a torch, they can really make it a lot easier. You also see how iridescent they become when you have a torch on them. It's better in real life than it is on film. Okay. Sort of see how iridescent they become with torches, so that they do kind of change in their amazingness by having a torch on them. Again, these look so much better in real life. Again, you can see the iridescence of certain ones which you would not see without a torch. Torches do really come in handy here. So by having QR codes, you can actually listen to the sounds and watch films that you are interested in. So not just what the museum is offering, but you know what your children are specifically interested in. If it is sound or if it's movement. By coming here, they can get a sense of the size, which you can't do on films. But by having the film and standing here at the same time, the children can get a different sense of completeness of what it is they're interested in and learning. So it can be a really good idea with QR codes, or just have the all these films lined up ready. But QR codes is a kind of fun way, because you have a piece of paper with a little map, and on the map you can have the QR codes so the children can say, we're here on the map, so they're learning map reading skills at the same time.
When doing QR codes, you will need to do this beforehand and be prepared. So think about selecting the websites or the YouTube clips or the sound effects prior, and then feeding this site into a QR code producer and then printing them out in the right place so that you have all the information ready and waiting.
So when it comes to filmmaking, why not use this as a scene? They could create their own fishes, go into the fish exhibition, do some drawings. If they're going to then cut them out, they can put them onto a green screen and then put a film of themselves with the fishes. Another idea is to get the children to go around and think about which of these animals do they think would be the leader of the Swedish forest. There's bears and there's reindeers, there's a big wild boar, look, and of course the moose. Are they going to make decisions by size? Are they going to make the decisions by how scary the reputation of the animals are? Or it'll be interesting to see. So they could actually go around with this mission of choosing an animal and thinking about why they have this choice. Another possibility is to use some kind of virtual reality app, drawing lines, and divide the children into different groups. For instance, the green-blue group could follow their arrow and go to all of the items that are with theirs. You could have different coloured ones, So as you see, you can go around the exhibition and discover, aha, this is where the blue group need to go. First one was green then. Going round, can we find, there is another one. So the purple group come here. And it could possibly be done that if you go around as a group, as a whole group, discovering which animals each group they have to collect the information of. We're going to go and see the lynx, and we're going to see the wolf, and we're going to see this because that's where our arrows are. And then they go back and find out more about their animals. And then when they get back to the preschool, they can then tell and share about it. So in the exhibition, Treasures from the Middle of the Earth, you could come and bring some stones of your own, and each group would be given a stone with the task to go and see if they can find it in the exhibition. Some, of course, are much easier than others. For instance, this one we can see directly over there. Either the children can go as a group, in their small groups, or go as a whole group. So here you can see they can find out what they are. So they can find out there it's an amethyst or a violet quartz. And so it tells you which country these ones come from. It also says it's calcite. So we can start thinking about the similarities of their stones. Can they find what these other stones are? Are they similar? Are they made in different? Do they come from similar parts of the world? So even on these drawers that you can pull out so that they will light up, torches will also bring more information. Because on the phone it's not bringing it up. But you can see that you can see the yellow much more clearly than what you can there. You can also see the sparkles in a completely different way. I have to apologise, film quality is not good. But basically I'm trying to show you that you can create a different way of seeing things by using the torch, or you could use the magnifying glass. If you have a digital magnifying digital microscope, you could use that too to get even different kinds of pictures. Another way you could go around any of the exhibitions really is by using puppets. For instance, the Swedish animals could be done by showing an Australian kangaroo around the animals here, and if you could find any similarities with his home country. Or it could be, I'm not going to put it on my hand, maybe a Swedish animal like a rabbit or a hare, or any of the animals here that you could use as a puppet. There are various places where you can get your hands on Swedish puppets, and then try and find out more about that animal. Maybe it's a story. As I mentioned last time we met, children really appreciate an anthropocentric approach to learning. So making it a kind of story is really going to help, so that if they're looking for the rest of the family, or maybe there's a certain adventure that the puppet is going to go on, they need to solve problems, maybe they need to find a parent, it's often an interesting one for children, then that can be a really great way to get them to find out more information.
Hopefully you've got some more ideas now of what you could do at a museum other than using pencil and paper and recording with films and photographs. There's ways of using these digital tools. You can take clay, you can take all sorts of things, as you've seen, like puppets and figures, and help the children get actively involved with the actual museum visit. Empower them, get them to research, not just follow and learn information, but are actively engaged with the museum. So hopefully you've had a few ideas. Sadly, you didn't get to try them yourself, but hopefully you can get to try them in the future. If you have any questions, just get in touch with the email that you see here and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.